What is up, guys? Today we're playing 2-5, 5-10 at Seminole Coconut Creek. We have King Queen offsuit. There's a limp under the gun, a raise to $25. Two calls. We decide to put in a 3-bet here to $125. I could call and go multi-way, but my hand's pretty strong. There's a lot of dead money in here, so let's bump it up. Make it $125. Only initial raiser makes the call. We are heads up to our first flop. It comes out king, queen, deuce, 2 diamonds. We flop top 2 pair in a 3-bet pot. I want to bet here, but I don't want to bet too big. I want to still get called by gut shot straight draws like ace jack, ace 10. Also some second pair holdings like ace queen or queen jack. So I slide out $75. The action is now over my opponent, and he asked how much the bet is. It's $75, and to my surprise, he doesn't want to play for $75. He wants to play for more. How about $425? My opponent raises huge here. Now, of course, we could be behind. He could have pocket deuces, maybe pocket queens or kings, but likely he has a flush draw, ace king, or maybe even a slow played aces. I go back and forth whether I want to just call this bet and let him blast off on the turn, or if I just want to go all in. After counting out my stack, it looks like I only have about $800 left, and he made a $425 raise. I just don't think he's ever folding to my all-in jam, so instead of calling and letting the scare card come out to kill the action, I just rip it all in. I'll go all in.
Which?
I'd rather go once. My opponent asked if I want to run it once or twice, and I usually go twice, but lately I felt like it's better for the videos to only run out the board one time, and because it's only a $2,000 pot, I feel like in this scenario, I just rather run out the board one time. If I'm ahead, I'm ahead. If I'm behind, I'm behind. We see the 6 of hearts on the turn and the deuce of hearts on the river. My opponent shows ace king, and that is no good. Top 2 pair king queen is going to take down this pot immediately right off the bat. We're already up over $1,000. A pretty big cooler there. My opponent flopping top, and us flopping top 2 pair. We end up getting it all in as a favorite and hold. Our stack is now over $2,000 within the first 5 minutes of our session. I do want to give a shout out to the Seminole Coconut Creek management here. They are pro poker vlogging, which is great. I now have permission to film openly at the table. They put down this plaque, and everybody knows that there's video in progress. Hopefully more casinos in this area and around the country will take note. Poker vlogging is great for the game, and it brings a lot of new players in. After playing this 2-5 game for about 45 minutes, no other notable hands happen, but they do call a brand new 5-10 no limit game, so I end up racking up my chips, heading over there, buying in for $2,500. This 5-10 table lineup looks great. Doesn't look like there's any other professional poker players at the table. It looks like a lot of people just coming out on a Saturday night trying to have some fun playing some poker. And this first hand, it folds all the way to me in the small blind. I raise it up to $30 with pocket kings. The big blind comes along with a call. Board is 5, 3, 8, 2 clubs. I decide to check over to my opponent, and he checks back. Turn 4 of hearts. After the flop checks through, I'm going to start putting in some money here, getting called by flush draws, straight draws, maybe some single pair hands. I put out $40, and my opponent wants to play for more. He puts in a raise to $120. Now, after I check the flop and he checked back, he could potentially be doing this with a ton of hands, maybe straight draws, flush draws, pair plus flush draws. He could be trying to bluff me because I'm filming for a vlog, so I can't fold just yet. I decide to make the call. I'm not feeling the best about this situation. He could have some 2 pairs, maybe some straights, but after not betting the flop, I don't expect him to have that strong of a hand. The river card comes out, one of the best cards in the deck. It's the 5 of spades, pairing the board. All the flush draws and straight draws miss. It also could counterfeit him if he had a hand like 3-4 or 8-4. So when I check over to him and he continues for $175, I just don't think I can ever fold my hand the way I played it. I put in the call. He shows us 6 deuce of clubs for a turn straight, and pocket kings are no good this time. I play another pot here when I straddle under the gun, $25. I have 6-4 of diamonds. I call a $75 raise. We go 3 ways to an ace-high board with a 6 in it. With second pair, I call a c-bet. The turn goes check, check, and the river goes check, check, and my 6 is good. The This next hand is an interesting one. The last 6 months I felt like I've started to play a little bit more passive ABC style poker, which I think is a fine winning strategy, but I don't want to be one of these regs that is super predictable and easy to play against. I want to start putting in some more bluffs, turning up the aggression. So in this hand I have King Queen of Diamonds. The cutoff raises to $30. He has been very active so far, raising about 40 or 50% of hands, and now the button puts in a 3-bet to $150, folds to me in the big blind here with a suited Broadway. I don't want to fold a hand as strong as King Queen of Diamonds. I don't really want to call either and get squeezed out by the cutoff or go multi-way out of position. So if we don't want to fold and we don't want to call, it looks like a 4-bet is basically the only option here. I want to play more aggressive. Let's put some pressure on here. I bump it up to $500. I have a king and a queen in my hand, so I block my opponent from having pocket kings and pocket queens and ace king. She could have hands like pocket tens or jacks, and I can put a lot of pressure on those hands. Her raise size was very big as well. A 5x raise size in position. I don't think she would be going this big with hands like aces and kings. She's likely to have some medium-sized pocket pairs or maybe some bluffs as well. This is somewhat of a risky play. Usually recreational players down here in Florida only 3-bet hands like pocket queens, kings, or aces, but for some reason I just felt like she wasn't super strong here, and maybe this $500 bet, given my tight image, could make her fold some big strong hands. With about $1,500 in her stack, she looks back at her cards and she folds pocket jacks face up, which is the perfect scenario. We end up taking down over $180 without even seeing a flop. Other than losing a 6 deuce of clubs with pocket kings, this session has been going pretty smooth so far. Under the gun limps for $10, I have ace of spades, queen of diamonds. I re-raise next to act to $50, and now a middle position player puts in a 3-bet to $175. Like I said before, recreational players in Florida hardly ever 3-bet light, so when my opponent re-raises me here in position to $175 for my early position raise, I put him immediately on some big overpairs like pocket queens, kings, and aces. Now if I put my opponent on only pocket queens, kings, and aces with his 3-bet preflop, our ace queen looks really bad against that range. However, we're about $2,500 deep. If I know basically what he has preflop, it should be easy to play postflop. If we smash a board, we could win over a $5,000 pot. The camera's rolling. Let's make the call here. We see a flop, heads up, out of position. The board comes out 7, 8, 9, 2 hearts. I check and my opponent eventually puts out $175. Now we have nothing here, but this board should smash my calling range of a 3-bet. I can have so many strong hands on this board, and my opponent basically can never have a strong hand. If he 3-bets me preflop with only pocket queens, kings, and aces, the best hand he can possibly have here is one single pair. However, I could have so many strong hands, pocket 7s, 8s, and 9s for a set. I could have jack 10 suited for a straight, 8-9 suited for 2 pair, 7-8 suited for 2 pair. Sitting here with ace high, we should just fold and move on to the next hand, but I have some evil intentions here. I decide to float out of position, looking to try to take away the pot on the turn with a check raise or the river if the board comes out scary. The turn card is the 10, one of the best cards in the deck. Now a jack makes a straight, a 6 makes a straight, and there's more 2 pairs and sets. I check over to my opponent, who eventually checks this one back. The river's a 5. If my opponent had pocket jacks and made a straight on the turn, he most likely would always bet, but he checked this turn card back. So on this river card, I feel like the best hands he's going to have here are single pair hands like aces, kings, and queens. He could possibly have ace king as well. If I check over to him, he's most likely going to check this one back, and we're going to lose probably 99% of the time. However, if I put out a big bet here, I could put all of his single pair holdings in a really tough spot. This board is really scary. There's a ton of 2 pairs, straights, and sets. So I decide to go for it. I turn my ace high into a bluff. I lead out for $525. Facing a $525 bet, my opponent doesn't snap call right away, so we can discount him from having a straight, but he doesn't fold right away either, which means he most likely doesn't have ace king. He probably has those big overpairs. I am praying now for him to make a big hero fold. I've had a tight image so far. I've shown down some pretty strong hands, and I haven't played too many hands in the last hour. I'm hoping my opponent will put me on a strong hand and make a big hero fold with his pocket aces, kings, and queens. The waiting game continues here. My heart rate is increasing every second that I'm waiting for my opponent to make his decision. If I did have a 2 pair, a set, or a straight, and my opponent checked back the turn, I feel like I can always bet this sizing given the fact that he really never has a strong hand the way he played it. I'm hoping he's going to make a big fold with a big pocket pair. After thinking for over 1 minute, he decides to put in a call. We show the ace queen and he shows pocket aces. Our bluff did not work this time. Over $700 being chipped to my opponent. Sliding out that $525 bet on the river, I really thought it was going to get through. I felt like my opponent was going to make a big hero fold. He had the ace of hearts, which is just a terrible card to have for him. Him having the ace of hearts is a bad card because he blocks me from having ace queen of hearts or ace king of hearts. All hands that I would call a 3-bet with, call a flop bet with, and then maybe bluff with on the river. I would play 2 pair sets and straights this exact same way, so the good news is, if we ever do make a hand, at least we'll be getting paid off. Pause the video, let me know down in the comments what you guys think about this play.
Lexo's in the hand.
Yep, I'm here.
I might call just to get on TV this hand.
Trying to make a vlog here.
Yeah, this motherfucker hit me with a cooler, and he's proud of himself.
There you go. I can't put your face on there, so.
Why not?
Here,
give me a waiver.
They asked me no face.
I'll sign
Give me a waiver.
The table is definitely opening up and having some fun. I call a $100 raise with pocket nines. We go 4 ways to a 6-5-5 board, and now the small blind leads out for $500. Over now onto the initial raiser, who raised to a 4x sizing preflop, and she decides to ship it all in for $1,500. With pocket nines facing a $500 bet and a $1,500 raise all in, I feel like we're just always beat here, so I make the fold. After folding for what seems like forever, I finally pick up a playable hand. Pocket tens under the gun and make it $35. Middle position player calls, and now a nice woman in the big blind with only about a $400 stack. She seems to be playing somewhat conservative preflop. She re-raises me here to $130. Sticking with the fact that recreational players in Florida only 3-bet pocket queens, kings, or aces, my opponent only has $300 left in her stack. I don't think we can profitably call here and set mine. Middle position player doesn't have that much left behind either, so I make a tough fold. The other player folds as well, and she shows pocket kings. Nice hand. Unfortunately, after this hand, we went card dead again for over an hour. Really didn't play any hands. And then we get king queen suited on the button. There's a raise to $30. I could 3-bet or call. And given the fact that I'm on the button, I'm going to have last to act action on all the flops, turns, and rivers. I just make the call. Other players fold. We go heads up to a king high board with 2 spades, a magical flop for us. Top pair and the king high flush draw. My opponent bets $75, a very large bet. I don't think there's any reason to raise here. If he's bluffing on this board, he's basically drawing dead. If he has us beat, we just want to continue to keep the pot a good size so we can see all 5 cards. I make the call. The turn is the 3 of diamonds, really shouldn't change anything at all, and now my opponent decides to check over to me. Let's say he was taking a stab with hands like 9-10, Queen Jack, or Ace-10 on the flop and then gave up on the turn. He's basically drawing dead against our top pair and our king high flush draw. There's really no bad cards to come out here on the river, so I decide to check back, hoping he'll either catch up with a worse pair on the last card, or maybe he'll try to turn his hand into a bluff since we checked back the turn. The river card is a great 4 of spades, giving us a king high flush, and my opponent continues now for a $150 bet. I feel like a lot of the time my opponent is just bluffing here, but we got the second nuts. We got to be putting in a raise. Just about 2 hours ago, I slid out a $525 river bluff. I got called, and the entire table saw that I was capable of putting in a big river bet as a bluff, so I'm hoping this pays off for me now when I actually have it. I throw out a $550 raise, and unfortunately my opponent folds, but we do take down a decent pot. The penultimate hand of the session, Ace King of Diamonds, a beautiful hand. Hijack makes it 30, I 3-bet to $150. He makes the call, heads up to 10-5-5. A great board for me to continue to c-bet. I make it $150. He makes the call, turn Jack of Hearts, now bringing in a flush draw. If I had a hand like pocket aces, kings, queens, jacks, or tens, I would definitely continue here. If my opponent has a 10x hand or a smaller pocket pair to the board, he's going to be in a pretty tough spot, so I throw out $300, and unfortunately, my opponent raises me here. He raises up to $700, and given the fact that the board's paired in a 3-bet pot, we could be drawing dead, so I make the fold. This last hand is definitely an interesting one. The last half an hour of this table, it's been pretty tight, a lot of folding. It seems like people are just trying to lock up the win, or they're just getting tired. There's also more professional players on the table now, so it's not really as good. The villain in this next hand is a very disciplined, patient player. I 3-bet him once or twice this session, and each time he's made the fold. So when I look down in the big blind at pocket aces, and he raises here and everybody folds, I decide to get real sneaky and just make the call. I wouldn't recommend this play, but against a patient, disciplined player, sometimes you got to switch it up, keep him in there with hands that were dominating. The flop is great for us. Queen, 7, ace. We make top set. On a rainbow board, he bets $25. I'm going to fast play this one right away. I raised to $75 thinking he's always going to call here with his gut shot straight draws, his queen X hands, and his 7X hands. He's not going to put me on a hand as strong as pocket aces, and he ends up making the call, which is exactly what we want. The turn is the 8 of hearts, bring in a flush draw now and some more straight draws. I do want to continue to bet here, but I don't think I need to bet too big. I want to keep him in there with his queen X hands, his 7X hands, maybe his single pair ace X hands, and also his gut shot straight draws. So I throw out $110, and this is when the hand gets pretty interesting. We have about $3,000+ behind in both of our stacks, and instead of calling $110, my opponent raises me here to $375. There's a lot of things going through my head. One is, hell yes, we have the nuts and my opponent's raising me, and 2, this is such a strong play. I check raise the flop and then bet the turn, and now my opponent is putting in another raise on the turn. I feel like a lot of the time here, he's going to have a super strong hand. It's possible he could be bluffing with a big flush draw and straight draw, maybe king 10 of hearts, jack 10 of hearts, hands like that. But a lot of the time here, when he puts in such a big bet, I feel like he's going to have either ace queen, pocket queens, or pocket sevens. We have to figure out what we want to do here. We started the hand with over $3,000, which is very deep for this 5-10 game. If he does have a hand like pocket queens or pocket sevens, we are massively coolering him here. If he does have a hand like king 10 of hearts or jack 10 of hearts for a straight and flush draw, I feel like he's not going to fold if we put in a re-raise. If he has a very strong hand like a set, we want to try to build the pot up before any scare card comes out. And if he has a semi-bluff, we want to charge him more money to see the river. So after tanking for a while, I decided to put in a 3-bet here on the turn. I raise it up, I make it $800. The bad thing about this raise is that it's very unbalanced. I'm really never going to be bluffing here when I check raise to flop and then 3-bet here to $800 on the turn. But because my opponent hasn't gotten out of line this entire session, I put him on a super strong hand. If he does have a set, I'm trying to cooler him to the max. I don't want to call and allow a scare card to come out on the river to kill our action. Because we just called pre-flop, he can never really put me on pocket aces. I'm hoping this unorthodox line will get me paid off a little bit lighter here, but unfortunately my opponent folds. He later told me he had king high, so probably just a gut shot straight draw. It's interesting, if I would have called the turn, I wonder if he would have went for a big bluff on the river if he missed. We will never know, but this ends up being our last hand of the night, flopping top set with pocket aces. We end up racking up our chips, heading to the cage, and cashing out. All right, guys, a little Daniel Negreanu outro driving video here. I'm heading down to Miami, Florida, actually, to work out at Peak 360, which is my last employer. This is the last place I worked before I started playing poker for a living. I worked here as a personal trainer, and I coached CrossFit classes as well back in 2016, 17, and 18. I now live in Broward County, about 45 minutes north, but I like to come down to Miami every now and then to work out with old friends and come to this gym. The session you guys just watched was on June 11th, and now it's June 13th, which ironically has been 1 year since I was banned for 6 months from Magic City Casino. Now, some of you guys may know this story, some of you guys may not, but basically, I was banned for 6 months from Magic City Casino. Magic City Casino is a poker room here in South Florida, which is where I started playing poker. I started playing there in 2018 when I had a job still working at Peak 360. I played thousands and thousands of hours at Magic City Casino. I grew my bankroll at 1-2 to then start playing 2-5. Played there for about 3 years, probably 3,000 or 4,000 hours. I was there 5 or 6 days a week. And in June 2021, I was banned for 6 months It was a ridiculous story. I ended up making a YouTube video basically talking about exactly what happened. It's like a 20-minute long video. It got over 50,000 views and 1,200 comments. So a little update for you guys. The ban was June 2021. I basically couldn't come back to Magic City if I wanted to until December of 2021. But I was gone traveling in Vegas, Texas, LA, making videos, playing poker for about 6 months, and I didn't get back to South Florida until March 2022. So in March 2022, I came down here to Peak 360 to do a workout, and instead of fighting the crazy traffic, rush hour traffic from Miami back up to Broward County, I decided, hey, let's go check out Magic City Casino. I haven't been there in 8 months now. I heard the management has changed a little bit. I heard that the floor who banned me initially is no longer working there. So instead of fighting the traffic, let's go to Magic City Casino. I walk in there and immediately the floor who knows me by name says, hey Lex, are you approved to come and play again, because he knows about the incident. I said, yes, it's been over 8 months since my 6-month ban. So he said, let me make sure. He called the security. The security got my name, they looked at my ID, and they got my birthday, and they approved that Lex Ozias is approved, verified, he can play poker again. He then called the poker room manager, who also verified that I am good to go to start playing at Magic City again as well. So I sat down March 22nd, I played about 5 hours of 5-5 no limit, lost a couple $100. I kept my phone in my pocket, no videos, nothing like that, no issues. After about 5 hours, I left and went home. So about a month later in April, I was down here in Miami again, doing a workout. Instead of fighting the crazy long traffic to get back up to Broward County, I went to Magic City Casino again. I put my name on the 2-5 list. I sat down in the waiting area for 5-10 minutes. They then called me to table number 9. I sat down at seat number 2. I folded a couple hands, then I got pocket aces. I raised pocket aces, got 2 callers, flop was 10 high. I did a C-bet, they all folded, and while I was raking in the pot, 2 security officers came up behind me, tapped me on the shoulder, and told me, sir, we need to speak to you. Now, of course, I was confused because I didn't do anything wrong. I wasn't videotaping. There was no incidents. I didn't know what was going on, but I got out of my seat. I walked out with them, and immediately when I went outside, I was surrounded by 4 Miami-Dade police officers. I didn't know what was going on, so they told me, sir, we need to talk to you in the security office. And at first I was like, screw that, I'm not going with these people in a security office, but I felt like I had no choice. There was police officers around me, so whatever. I went to the security office and I sat there for about 20 minutes, and eventually they told me that upper management has changed their mind and I am no longer banned for 6 months. I am now banned permanently for life. So I don't know, they didn't give me an explanation, and they didn't tell me why I was banned for life. They didn't tell me what I did or, you know, any explanation about that. They just told me you're banned for life, and that's it. So I left. Somehow I went from being banned for 6 months, my ban being lifted, and me being able to play, to then being banned permanently. I didn't really even ask them any questions. I was so sick of it, I just wanted to get out of there. So I went back to the poker room, I got my money, I was escorted out by the officers as if I committed some crime. It was ridiculous, but it honestly doesn't really surprise me with how terrible Magic City is run. Now, I do know that I made a video and I posted it on YouTube, basically calling them racist. I called them prejudiced as well. I felt like I was discriminated against because of how I looked, and I gave them a bad review. Now, is that worth being banned for life? I'm not sure. When it comes to customer service, it's kind of confusing, you know, like if someone makes a bad review on a restaurant, are they banned for life? If you make a bad review on a barbershop, does that barbershop ban you for life? They have the option to ban me. It's a private, you know, business, but it really doesn't make much sense. I don't understand how I could play there in March and then a month later when things don't change, they then ban me for life. Doesn't make any sense. I don't know, I'm not gonna fight it. I'll never be back there again. I wanted to update you guys on the story. It's a wild one, and also to warn you to never go play at Magic City Casino. If you're ever in South Florida and you wanna play poker, do not go to Magic City Casino. Go to Seminole Hard Rock in Hollywood, Florida, or Seminole Coconut Creek a little bit farther north. They're both great casinos. They have great action, great poker rooms, great staff. You're hopefully never gonna get into a situation like that. But that's the update. I'll never be back there again, that is for sure. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Going out to Vegas in 2 days. Gonna be playing on Hustler Live June 20th as well. Tune into that. And that is it for this one, guys. Until next time, I'll see ya.